And one thing that was notable for me was the bickering that is taking place between Ruto and Gachagua.
Of course.
They are two jilted lovers.
Excess, eh?
Excess, who are now fighting. But of import is that beneath what is going on, Gachagua is raising very serious issues, which are corroborated by what Muturi had also said in terms of how the administration is run.
Yeah.
Because when somebody raises questions that touch on the intent of the person in office, that informs his decisions, and you're seeing very serious allegations made, that is an indictment on the presidency. And if Kenya was a functioning state, at this point, the Senate or the National Assembly will have opened a probe to establish the veracity of these allegations. And these allegations are not being made by any Tom, Dick, and Harry. This is somebody who was working very closely with Ruto.
At the second in command.
Yes, at the time. And he had first row access to the man. And he's giving details. The only invitation that we make to Gachagua is that he should not just leave it at the point of stating the story. They need to now start supplying evidence or finding ways in which evidence can be shared publicly to verify some of this information. Because these damning revelations about what is going on, it informs the pain that the Kenyan people are going through. That people are in office just to make deals, not to lead. And to loot. So Gachagua needs to share with us some of the information in evidence.
But yesterday he had started
he's given
showing signs.
He's showing signs. He's told us the story.
And
Muturi corroborates part of the story because you can see them pairing up. But they need to now give us documents in support.
Are you sure they have
even I'm sure they have evidence. I'm sure there are pictorials, there are written documents. And he said even he has recordings of some of the conversations. So that once you give these documents and even swear affidavits, then you can start compelling people to state agencies to start working and conducting a probe on this. But it's a good start to holding the state, in William Ruto to account for his action while in office. But as Safina Party has always told you, as we focus on the economy, it is just good that to the extent that it tells you the kind of leadership that we have in our place today. It's a leadership that is not focused on the people's interests, the common good of the people. They are focused on making deals. Whereas leadership should be focused on an economic promise. What are the economic tangibles that you want to deliver to the people of Kenya? And how are you going to give them an environment that enables them to achieve their full potential? That is what Safina Party is focused on. So we'll pay attention to Gachagua to an extent that is pushing for accountability on William Ruto, but we are not part of that conversation. We just hope that they share evidence and the rule of law takes its course. Otherwise, if they don't share the evidence, this may just be reduced to, as I said, jilted lovers. He said, she said, he said, she said.
And some people think it's kind of bitterness and stuff. Do you think Honorable Gachagua is expressing himself as a bitter man or just being hard on William Ruto because of the impeachment?
No, even if what is driving him is bitterness, but the substance of what he's saying, backed by evidence, it's something that should warrant the attention of law enforcement agencies, or even Parliament and the Senate. So you cannot just dismiss what he says, that he's a bitter man. Of course, a bitter man. He campaigned for the administration, and they kicked him in the teeth. But the fact that he's bitter does not take away the substance of the allegations which he's making. And those should be looked into. Of course, some people also find fault in the conduct of the character of Gachagua. That he is a divisive person. He represents a tribal.
He's putting a tribal
face out there. Even if you have a problem with that. And it doesn't mean that because Gachagua said this thing that you must love him or you must like him. Look at the substance. Forget about the messenger for a minute. Look at the substance of what he's saying. And we focus on them. If somebody is cutting deals with international criminals, then, and we have evidence, then, sanctions need to follow. appropriate sanctions needs to follow. If someone is doing business with certain states, certain regions, like was said of Kosovo, and granting them now recognition as a state because it's your business partner, what's the national interest? Those are things that we must pay attention to. And you saw when Kosovo was recognized by Kenya as a state, Serbia was very fast to react and condemn that action. Maybe now what Gachagua is saying that this was informed by a private business arrangement between the self-declared president of Kosovo and William Ruto. So those are things that we need to call out, because leadership is not about personal aggrandizement. Leadership should be about service to the people. We also witnessed in the last week William Ruto going to the mountain. And the mountain had a message to the rest of the nation, especially those from western side of Kenya, that the going rate is not 200. The going rate is 1,000 minimum. So next time, the listening fee is 1,000. That was the going rate. And so my advice to my brothers and sisters from the western side of Kenya. Next time William Ruto is visiting, I mean, he has told you that the going rate is 1,000 minimum. And it can go as high as even 10,000 per person. So they should also ask for their fair share. If anything, that is our money. It's not his money. It is distributing to our young people. But the overriding message was that when people rejected him, and people are heckling his pillars, it was not being rejected.
Right in front of him.
Because when people in Nyahururu or Nyandarua are heckling Imani Chungwa, he's not their MP. They can't be complaining about anything he has not done that he promised. They're heckling him because of his stance on national politics. And his stance on national politics, he stands with Kasongo, who they are rejecting. So the message was loud and clear. So his path to power, in my view, has now diminished. All that he now focuses on is how to finish his term and to deal with the wrath of the people when the time comes. And something also that Kenyans need to note in the budget policy statement, the National Treasury seems to be proposing that VAT should be increased to 18%.
From the current
16%.
In the next financial...
In the coming financial year. So the finance bill, if that proposal maintains, they are going to increase your VAT from 16% to 18%.
But they keep saying that they are working on measures to take things down.
But see me, I told you, the finance bill is going to increase taxes.
But it
is important. It's good. The one thing he says, and let's look at what he's doing. Look at the BPS, the budget policy statement, and the report from the Parliamentary Budget Office. They are saying to increase it to 18%.
For the first time,
it has never crossed the 16% mark. They now want to increase it to 16%. I told you, the problem in this country is debt finance. They are spending a minimum 70% of their collection on debt finance. And next year, based on the projections, the maturing debts and interest, they are going to pay 2.1 trillion shillings in debt.
To pay the debt.
To pay debt, 2.1 trillion. Based on projections for this financial year, they are going to collect 2.3 trillion.
So that is 2 trillion.
2.3 trillion is the collection.
2.1 trillion
to pay debt. If you don't increase tax, then it means almost 100% of what you're going to collect next year will go to debt finance.
Yes.
If you don't increase your taxes.
Yes.
Almost 100% of what you're collecting is going to debt. So they must increase taxes. They will increase your taxes. That is even why that proposal to increase VAT to 18%. The government is raiding your pockets. That's what Jimmy and Jiggy had promised you.
Yeah.
Haircuts. So they have to come to your pocket every day, find a way in which to increase your tax, your levy, your charges.
And Kuria was also proposing that now SHA, those who have not paid for SHA, their money will be deducted.
Deducted at M-Pesa.
Yes.
Why is the healthcare system? SHA? What is SHA about? SHA is about transferring the burden of payment back to the parent, to the individual.
Yes.
University funding model is about transferring back the bulk of paying for your university education to the parent. So government is shirking its responsibility back to you.
Yes.
It is part of haircut. They want to find every excuse to open your pocket and remove money.
Yeah.
It's because this debt is killing them. And it's important Kenyans ask, what is this debt? If Kibaki, at the point of departure, the Kenyan debt stock was 2.7 trillion. That was the debt that we owed locally and internationally, 2.7 trillion.
Total debt.
Total debt. Today, our debt stock is 11 trillion.
10, 12 years later.
Yes, you are told it is 11 trillion. In the same period, you've paid almost 9.8 trillion. What is this debt you are paying that does not go down, just keeps going up? And which are these projects that are worth that much? That you can point to me, these are the road that was done using. This borrowed
This 11 trillion.
Because 11 trillion, you cannot hide it. This should be a major infrastructure project that everybody should be able to see. So those are the things that is wrong with this administration and the previous one. They took debt and ate. They still borrow money to eat. The money does not come into Kenya. What comes into Kenya is the obligation to pay. And the sooner Kenyans focus on that question of debt, you will not make any progress. And I tell you, even in the campaigns, you will remove Ruto. The next person you are going to put there, if he has no conviction and courage to confront the debt monster, we will be saying must go.
And how is Safina party ready to face that?
As we are not going to pay odious. It's a monster, as we are very clear, we will not pay odious debt. We will only pay debt that was taken in accordance with our laws.
And how will you know this is an odious debt and this is
because we have the Appropriations Act that is passed every year. That's the budget. That sets out what we are borrowing. So in our laws, you must get parliamentary approval for you to borrow any money. And you can only borrow money for a project. So if you are showing us in our register that this debt, where's the parliamentary approval? It's not there. We are not paying it. Where's the project it financed? It's not there. We are not paying it. Did the money come into Kenya? No, we are not paying it.
And how will you deal with the lenders now?
Buyer beware. Buyer beware. Buyer beware. Why is that our problem? Why did you give the money not to in accordance with the laws of Kenya? Why should it be the problem of the people of Kenya? How you recover your money?
And why do you think this debt is not reducing? Because if we have paid almost 9 trillion and we still have 11 point something trillion, at least we should be seeing its reduction.
It's not, because it's a Ponzi scheme now. Our debt has now turned to be a Ponzi scheme. They must keep perpetually taking those illegal loans and raising your taxes to pay it, to sustain it. It's a Ponzi scheme. Only that now it's nearing its end. It's going to collapse anyway. Right? So you need a leadership that is convicted and is courageous enough to say, we are not paying it. Open that register. Open that register. And anybody who is culpable must pay. Not the people of Kenya. Why should the Kenyan people underwrite a sovereign debt that is lying in someone's private account in Qatar? Why? No. Safina party, we are very clear, will not pay.
And last 2 years or 3 years, and so when which Ruto'S administration has been in power, we have seen them trying to increase some taxes almost everywhere, but they still don't collect the money that they need. How will this 18%, what do you think about this?
It's the Laffer curve. It's the Laffer curve. You know, even if they increase the VAT to 18%, the collection will not go up. With their tax measure that they came up with from 2023 to date, their average collection per month is not even more than what Uhuru was collecting.
With the initial taxes?
With the initial taxes. The people have reached the Laffer curve. The moment you raise taxes now and there's no production taking place, people will just stop consuming.
But it's on basic goods.
But now, even if it's on basic goods, they can't afford it. If he doesn't have anything in the pocket. So very few people will be able to access those services, goods and services. Because they can't afford it. People are not paying, saying that we are refusing to. They just can't afford it. If you don't have, you don't have. So VAT is largely a consumption tax. And the products that it's going to be levied on, people will stop consuming those products. The price will goes beyond their control. So if you had 5,000 people consuming a product, because of increased VAT, the number will reduce to even 3,000. So your collection will end up reducing.
Yeah.
You're better off maintaining it at 16%. And you have 5,000 people consuming.
Yeah.
So in terms of volumes, you are collecting more.
Yeah.
But now, in terms of volumes, less and less people are consuming. So your collection, in aggregate, will go down.
Yeah.
That is, we reached the Laffer curve. That's what we said.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if based on their own projection, they could have been collecting a minimum 2 or 3 billion per month as tax revenue. Why are they not hitting it? Why are they still lying somewhere around 163, 169? It's a Laffer curve.
But we still see the president, who is the head of the state, every time he goes somewhere, it's always he always gives money that is visible, like not even promises. We see him giving, like, spending hundreds.
But those are no, leave alone projects. Those ones that he says 100 billion, 5
not
billion.
on projects. Maybe
to finance his campaign. Maybe those millions that he spends. That is from the confidential fund. Yeah, those ones he's using to run around. Those ones, that is peanuts. That's nothing.
Yeah.
In terms of substance, that's nothing. So he'll have some loose money to run around with.
Yeah.
But how comes he cannot do anything tangible?
Yeah.
Why does that one lorry has to follow him everywhere in Central Province carrying electricity poles to be launched?
Yes.
Yeah. If there was money to do the project, you will not be going there with a lorry. You will be going there when the poles have been set up.
Yeah.
But why should a president even go to launch electricity?
Actually, talking about that, we saw the president, even the project on his day one, the president was launching a classroom and, a tuition block and,
a tuition block put up using CDF money in 2023, 2024.
Yes, and there was an outrage. People were like, this is a project that should not even be launched by an MP.
That one should be launched by the teacher on duty. A tuition block should be launched by the teacher on duty.
Do you think the president has lost his role?
But it's a question of understanding the tier of a president and leadership.
Yeah.
Yeah, but for him, he wants photo ops. So it's just an opportunity to go and take a photo so that you show you're doing something. But that cannot be the role of a president. That's not the function of a president.
Yeah.
But that is Kenya Kwanza for you. That's their capacity.
Yeah.
In fact, we are the fools if we expect anything different. They're just showing you their best.
Yes.
And their best is the worst for the nation. Kenyans deserve much better.
And as Safina Party, we are only one year actually away from the elections. How prepared is
Safina Party is prepared, and we are very focused on our agenda. It's an economic agenda. And we invite Kenyans who believe that it's time for an economic liberation to join this movement that is going to economically liberate the people of Kenya. It is time that we do away with the legacy politicians and have a political conversation that is about the people's liberation. Liberation on the economic front, not political. We got our political rights. It is now time for us to get our economic freedom. It's time for economic liberation, and Kenyans of goodwill. Safina Party is the way.